A Gypsy Joker bikie has been acquitted of charges related to the display of gang insignia, as a Perth magistrate stated that the law was not applicable, and the charges were unwarranted. Christopher Myles Martin, 42, walked free from Perth Magistrates Court last week after effectively contesting charges filed against him in July of this year. Police allege that Martin exhibited objectionable wording on his Harley motorcycle when a police officer pulled him over for a random breath test and illuminated his motorcycle with a flashlight. Martin was riding his grey Harley-Davidson in Cloverdale around 7 p.m. on July 30th in the company of other bikies when he was intercepted by police, and he was then directed by police to pull over. It was during that interaction that a police officer noticed that Gypsy Joker was written on the fuel tank of the Harley, following which the police charged Martin under the controversial, Unlawful Consorting and Prohibited Insignia Act. But Martin pleaded not guilty, claiming through his lawyer that the wording was designed not to be seen at night, unless the bike comes under direct lighting. Martin's lawyer told the court that his client had spray-painted his bike in a method known as ghosting, and the writing was only visible to the police officer because he shone a torch directly on it. Ghosting refers to a technique where an image or text is painted on a surface in such a way that it remains subtle or nearly invisible under normal lighting conditions but becomes visible or prominent when exposed to specific conditions, such as direct light or a certain angle. This technique is often used for artistic or decorative purposes, as well as for more practical applications. Martin's lawyer further stated that if individuals are directed by the police to perform an action, and subsequently face charges due to that act, there exists a defense asserting that they are not guilty. The defense is based on the argument that the act was carried out under the lawful direction of the police. Martin's lawyer also suggested to the magistrate that the law enforcement agencies should apply this new controversial law with care and common sense, to prevent the unnecessary squandering of taxpayers' money, resources and valuable court time. Magistrate Kelly Thompson agreed to Martin's lawyer and found Martin not guilty, clearing him of all charges. The result represents another unsuccessful effort by the police to obtain a conviction under the recently enacted laws. This court decision also clarified that it's not merely the display itself that's unlawful, rather, it must be exhibited in a manner visible to those present. The law should be applied with common sense. These laws were intended to be stringent, and indeed they are, but there should be an element of common sense in their application. Magistrate Thompson took 2 months to conclude the trial, and it ended with a win for the bikie. Martin was also awarded legal costs of $3,800 to be paid up by the police. In December 2021, tough new laws hit organised crime and bikies in Western Australia. The controversial criminal law of Unlawful Consorting and Prohibited Insignia Act 2021 was passed through the Western Australia's Parliament. Under this act, displaying of insignia of identified organisations in public places is prohibited, and the maximum penalty for this offence is imprisonment for 12 months and a fine of $12,000. Police also have the power to target individuals involved in serious and organised crime and disrupt their activities by banning them from associating with one another and wearing their patches. The legislation identifies and lists 46 bikie organisations from across Australia and prohibits the display of their insignia in a public place. An insignia removal notice can also be issued, which enables WA Police to issue a notice requiring the removal or modification of insignia that is being displayed in a public place. WA Police also have the power to remove or modify the insignia after failure to comply. These laws represent the toughest and most comprehensive reforms against organised crime and bikies of all Australian states and territories. These 46 organisations have been captured and explicitly named in the legislation. Grid Sparta has obtained a copy of these listed bikie clubs, and the list is attached in the description of the video, free for anyone to download and read. Since the implementation of recent legislation, an upsurge in bikies contesting charges has been observed at the courthouse. Undoubtedly, the new law has heightened the workload for the courts, law enforcement, and legal professionals. Additionally, it has fostered confusion and skepticism among the public. Numerous bikies have become entangled with this legislation, including Australia's most tattooed bikie and a media figure, ex-Hells Angels Dane Brajkovic, as well as senior members like Troy Mercanti of Mongols and the late Rebels president Jamie Ginn. Even though these laws grant additional powers to law enforcement agencies, they have proven to be ineffective for several reasons. These laws suffer from overreach and ambiguity, resulting in confusion and selective enforcement that undermines their intended deterrence. The costly legal battles and public skepticism surrounding their application further call into question their practicality and efficiency. Moreover, these laws fail to address the root issues of organized crime, focusing on superficial manifestations rather than the underlying causes. As a result, a more comprehensive and balanced approach may be required to effectively address the concerns related to outlaw bikies and organized crime in the region.